Hello, everybody, and welcome to What's the Buzz? I'm Moses Nawlo. Whether you already have a communication strategy for your state association or would like to start one, this panel is for you. We'll be touching base on various topics pertaining to starting a communications committee for your state association, different mode of communication, and selecting the right platform for you to get in touch with your members. During the panel, we'll be running some polls, so keep an eye for those. That way we can learn a little about you. And towards the end, time permitting, we'll be taking questions from you. Allow me to introduce our fantastic panel. We have Kevin Silva.
Hi, everybody. My name's Kevin Silva. I'm the current president of Opticians Association of Massachusetts. I've been on OAM now for about 7 years. I've held different roles on the OAM board, including currently being the Communications Committee Chair. So thank you.
And up next, we have Patricia McIntire.
Hi, everyone. I am Patricia McIntire. I am a licensed optician in Massachusetts. I am in my second year as an OAM board member, and I am a big part of our communications committee.
And lastly, we have Jax Ledoux.
You're muted, Jax.
Sorry about that. I'm Jax Ledoux. I'm a licensed optician in Massachusetts. I'm also a board member and I'm on the communications committee as well.
Good to have you here. And I'm Moses Nawlo, a dual licensed optician from Brooklyn, New York. I earned my bachelor's in biochemistry and master's in healthcare admin prior to starting my optical journey. You were introduced earlier to the student and apprentice to leadership winners of the scholarship. Congratulations, first of all, and welcome. Happy to have you with us. I'm happy to also say that I too was once one of those students. After attending my first leadership in Savannah, Georgia, I became very intrigued, motivated, and inspired to get involved. I soon became the student and apprentice representative on the OAA Board of Directors. And soon after, I am the social media and marketing director for the OAA. At last year's leadership conference, I presented a breakout session discussing the secrets of social media and how to implement it for your communication committee's needs.
Actually, Moses, your breakout session last year at leadership, first, I want to say it was an amazing breakout session. You did a great job. And second, I just want to say it was a huge motivating factor for me to really reevaluate the communications committee at Opticians Association of Massachusetts. You know, we had a newsletter, we had attempted social media, but it really created the urgency for me to go back to our board and reevaluate. But before I go down that journey, why don't we put up poll question number 1? I want to learn a little bit about our attendees today. So if we can put up poll question number 1. Quick question for you guys. Are you part of the communication committee in your state? While that poll question's up, I just want to say I went back to the OAM board meeting and I basically asked the board who wants to help with the communication committee. And so we had some people that showed interest and wanted to take ownership. So let's see what the results are from the poll. Are you part of the communication committee in your state? 29% no, 29% yes, 71% no. So, okay, so the majority of people are not part of the communication committee. So, like I mentioned, I took Moses's breakout session last year, went back to the board, asked if anybody wanted to really take a deep dive into our communication committee, and we actually had a meeting with anybody who wanted to. So part of that meeting was Jax and Patricia and Dibby, and really what we found out was that we needed ownership of certain aspects of our communication committee, right? So we had attempted multiple parts of the communication committee, but unlike OAA, who had Moses, who owned that committee, we didn't really have that. And so Jax really stepped up, Patricia stepped up, and we really decided to focus on our main means of communicating with our members, which was the newsletter. So that's where we started.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of newsletter, I'm on the OAA's newsletter committee, which involves me working with our corporate partners to produce features and presentations and advertisements monthly. The OAA actually has 2 newsletters that go out monthly. One is targeted towards the subscribers and members, and a second towards state associations. So if you're not yet subscribed to those, go ahead and you can do that through our oaa.org website. Patricia, you're the editor of the OAM's newsletter. Can you tell us about that and how you got involved?
Sure, I would love to tell you about that. So as editor, or even more so, the creative director, designer, I'm kind of the driving force behind the newsletter. So I am committed to getting this newsletter out once a month. We've been doing it for the past year, and I will say that I have been successful every month except December. I ended up putting it out a little late for January 1st, but kind of made it a celebration of the end of the year, so I think it worked out okay. So basically, I create content to share with our OAM members, and as well as more recently, we added ABO and NCLE certified in Massachusetts opticians to our mailing list. So I'm just curious, I would like to put up a second poll question. Poll number 2, does your state association have a newsletter? So poll number 2.
Take a look.
So just curious if your state association has a newsletter. You know, it's a fun and fantastic way to talk to your members and get members involved in the state association. So what are our results?
Take a look. Yes.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Awesome.
52% of you have a newsletter. That is very encouraging. I'm thrilled to hear that. So I'd like to talk a little bit about how I decided on our newsletter format. Mm-hmm. So prior to setting up our OAM communications committee, we had a monthly paper newsletter. It was basically
it actually wasn't even monthly, Patricia. It was only going out like quarterly when it was paper.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So even less than that.
I don't think I ever saw one of the paper ones, maybe the last paper one. You know, I heard it was pretty hard to be distributable to our members being in a physical format, you know. So that newsletter was put together by a former board member, and when she left, Evan Wong, who is a school colleague of mine, as well as Blair Wong's son, he decided to take over the newsletter. But it's just too much for one person, and the paper format just was not easily executable. So we decided to switch to using an online marketing platform. And before I share my preferred online marketing platform, I'd like to present one more poll. So for poll number 3, I'd like to ask you who do have a newsletter for your organization, what is your preferred platform? So the platform choices would have been MailChimp, Constant Contact, Paper, or Other. So it looks like we're kind of missing a couple of those choices. So I suppose if you use Constant Contact, pick Other. If you use MailChimp, pick MailChimp. And if you use Constant Contact, pick Newsletter. And that will make us be able to get the answers. So go ahead, guys. I can't wait to see.
Yeah, so we actually, Patricia, and this might have been right as you were starting, but we started to dabble with going to a digital newsletter, and we also used a random software called Vertical Response. So if anybody out there uses Vertical Response, hit other, but we quickly realized there were better options than that out there. So, but we started with a free one. So
yeah. Well, MailChimp and Constant Contact can start out as free too, which is nice. But let's see.
Somebody commented on our chat too. They use something called Visme, V-I-S-M-E. I've not heard of that one either.
Wow. Who knew there were so many interesting
platforms?
things. So it does look like most people are using other. So I'm assuming you're probably doing paper or
Constant
one of
Contact.
those other platforms that we just talked about. So hopefully when we get to a question and answer session, maybe somebody can chime in and talk about or ask a question about those other platforms.
So we use we use Constant Contact with the OAA as well. It's real simple to use. It's convenient, just a drag and drop, color selection, all that. Constant Contact. It's really well.
For the ease of use, it's amazing. And that's kind of how I decided on that platform. So what I did before even meeting with anybody to learn more about the platforms, I set up a free MailChimp account and I set up a free Constant Contact account, and I kind of just taught myself how to use them. And you know, learning as you go is really key to your success when developing this plan for your state association, because most people, you know, we've never used these things before. We're opticians, we're technical, we're not necessarily, you know, into the social media and this and that. So it's great to just jump in, learn the platform yourself, and then look for help. So I met with Divvy for Coffee. This was a little over a year ago, pre-pandemic times. So miss seeing you all. So as you know, Divvy is the OAA president, and at the time she was the newsletter editor before Moses took over. So she showed me all the ins and outs of Constant Contact and how it is so easy to use. You can find free backgrounds online, clip art, and you just drag and drop it right into Constant Contact. So it's super easy.
Patricia, there's a quick question in the chat, and then a couple of people posted questions, but the one I'm seeing in the chat is, do you send the newsletter to all state registered opticians, apprentices, or only to association members like OAM members?
So basically we send it out to anyone who wants to sign up for the newsletter. So we have our OAM members, which are definite people who get the newsletter. And then we've currently added in, like I said, the ABO and the NCLA certified opticians. But anyone can subscribe if you just go to the OAM website, or if you have a friend who gets the newsletter, they can forward it to you, and then you can go ahead and subscribe through the newsletter.
And for OAA as well, as long as you subscribe, you could do that through the website, as mentioned earlier. And I'm seeing a question here, if we could use the link to OAA from Lisa, and that is correct. You could use the links, you don't need permission. We're more than happy for you to share the links, get everyone, you know, talking about the newsletter. In regards to the state association newsletter, that usually goes to, you know, the state association leaders, presidents throughout. So unless you're a leader in that state, which we'd love to have you be one, you can subscribe to that one.
Yeah, and also for the OAM, you know, if you can't quite figure out how to get the newsletter through the website, you can email us at meettheoptician@gmail.com, and I will get you subscribed right away. I would love to have more subscribers. So just to kind of wrap up and pass this on to my colleague, Jax, I just want to say, you know, over the first year, I kind of found free backgrounds online. I found clip art online just to create some visual interest in the newsletter. And I also decided to start creating my own backgrounds and my own clip art. I use PowerPoint, which I know is not traditionally a design program. However, I was self-taught with PowerPoint as well, so I can make magical things happen with PowerPoint. So again, you know, you use what you know, think outside of the box, and it'll make you very, very creative. And little secret, I do have a design background from prior to being an optician.
That works.
But yeah.
That helps.
It does help, yeah. But yeah, so I just make things pretty in PowerPoint, and then I screenshot them, drag them, and drop them into Constant Contact, and it's all good. So I collect content over the month. So over the month, I read optician magazines, I subscribe to opticians groups on Facebook, as well as any email blasts from organizations, and I start to create kind of, as I'm collecting them, I mean, I collect tons of things. So as I start to collect things, a theme will start to develop in my head. And this usually happens late at night. So I am a night person. So from 9 a.m. to 3 a.m., I am all about the newsletter, probably 3 full days a month. And it just, my creativity gets going, and I'm really excited. And then I send everything out for checks to my team. And they are morning people, so they get them in the morning. So and then wrapping up, we decided to get more creative with the newsletter, and we put in a question and answer section for different opticians every month, which led us to using more video and more clicks, as well as different social media outlets.
Yeah, so I'm a morning person, so as soon as it hits 5 o'clock, I'm already up and running. But yeah, you brought up social media, and social media is a great tool for state associations to implement into their communication strategy. This would help with maximizing exposure and getting their message out. Jax, you run the OAM's social media. How did you get involved, and what platforms do you use?
So when I started with the communications committee, I was kind of assisting Patricia. So she builds and creates the content, and anytime that we needed more information, I was helping her with that. And then we started working on trying to brand our social media. So right now, currently, our state association utilizes Instagram, Facebook, our email, and YouTube to communicate with our members. And I actually have a question. There should be a poll that'll pop up in just a moment. I'm curious to what types of social media platforms everyone in here uses right now. So that should pop up in just a moment. What about you guys? What do you currently use, Kevin?
Should be poll question number 4. So I mean, for me personally, I don't think this is the right poll question. So we should be with poll question out of these social media platforms. How many do you use?
You could go ahead and write the answer in chat if that poll doesn't come up.
Yeah, so I had a list, and that maybe this is a blessing in disguise because we forgot a couple. So I had listed Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, and we forgot about, what is it called? Twitter. I don't use Twitter.
I don't.
Yeah. So maybe if anybody wants to send in the chat what they use.
Yeah, put it right there in the chat. I mean, me personally, I use Facebook, Instagram. I haven't made my way to TikTok just yet. I think I'm on like that fence of where I might be getting to be a little bit too old for TikTok, but that's what I use, Facebook, Instagram primarily. A little bit of Twitter, but that was mostly for like sports. So
I closed down my
Go ahead, Moses.
I closed down my Facebook like 10 years, deactivated it, and then I got back on it, but I'm still private, so that way people don't ask where I've been for 10 years. Yeah. But now I use Instagram, but mostly for the OAA and such.
It looks like
I really love.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Jax. I was just gonna say, I love Facebook because you get pictures and text, and I love Instagram for the simplicity of it.
Yes.
I do go to LinkedIn more and more and more. It's so fun to connect with opticians on there.
I agree with that. It looks like we're getting a ton of Facebook, which is predictable, I feel like, and then some Instagram. Onto your note about TikTok, Kevin, I've recently tried to attempt TikTok. It's a lot. So it's a lot.
I might need a lesson. So
it's a lot. So let's see. So once we got our branding kind of established with our social media, we really tried to make sure that our branding kind of matches, right, Patricia?
Yeah, with the colors are key for you and me. And I love that you came up with that train of thought. It's perfect.
Yeah, so how we did it, I kind of started it just in one of the videos that I created, and then Patricia and I had a conversation about kind of putting it throughout all of our social media. We just looked at our logo and extracted some of the colors and put it throughout all of our platforms to kind of make it clear that it's our association that's reaching out to our members. Once we have that, go ahead.
Oh, just in our latest newsletter, our best work yet, we have our brand begin, and I'm so happy about it.
I can definitely see it. You know, we have different sections that repeat in our newsletter, and you can definitely see that you guys have put together structure in bringing the colors from our videos to our newsletter to our segments in our newsletter that reoccur. So you can pretty much tell that it's an OAM thing right away just by looking at it. So,
Right, I feel like when you start something, you always grow and you learn. And at first we were just trying to make sure we were reaching out to our members. And now I feel like we're a pretty well-oiled machine, and things feel a little bit more consistent. But some of the fun things that we've done, because I think especially now during the pandemic, people are looking more and more to connect, even more so. So, and everyone knows if you're scrolling through Instagram or Facebook or anything, people are going to pay more attention when they see someone's face or a video. So as Patricia mentioned earlier, we had this interview and it was called Meet the Optician. We would highlight an optician, just ask them a few questions, some serious, some playful. And we had a conversation about taking that off of written form in our email and bringing it into YouTube. So we started that, and it's been a ton of fun. It's been a really fun way to connect with our members. It's also been a great way to show our members who our board members are, because I feel like sometimes they don't know exactly who's behind the scenes doing all this stuff. So it's been a good learning curve too, because I didn't know a ton about YouTube until we started doing this. But
I think one thing I like about the Meet the Optician thing is you're also highlighting optician-owned businesses, right? We've highlighted a couple of optician-owned businesses in Massachusetts, which I think is amazing, right? Support the community, and so I think that's awesome.
I think we always need that, but more now than ever, for sure, definitely. Yeah. So we've done I don't know how many of those we've done now, maybe like 5 or 6, and just recently we've added a new video, and this was Kevin's idea, and I thought it was really cool. It's called the Oam Minute. And do you want to talk about that?
Sure. Yeah. So the Oam Minute is basically, I come on the screen and I send Jax about a minute-long video, and I just explain what OAM has done in the past month, some current news and events that might be happening in the optical industry, locally, nationally, and what OAM is going to be doing in the next month or future months. So basically, my idea is we can't meet with our members in person, right? So this is giving our members a face to the organization and consistency in a message, and just really simple, 30 seconds to 1 minute. Hey, this is what we did last month as an organization. This is what we're working towards next month. And here's a couple of news bits for you in between. So, and we plan on doing that every month. So I've committed to that. So.
And one thing that I think we've worked on and we've done really well is that when our email newsletter goes out, we seamlessly make sure that all the information that goes out in that email, or the majority of the important tidbits, go out onto our Instagram and Facebook as well. So Patricia and I have a text and we're like, it's a go. And we send everything out just so, sometimes emails can be put into spam, or they don't see it right away. Or they see it and they want to look at it later. They see it on Instagram and they can watch that. So I definitely think that's a way to make sure your members are seeing what you're posting as well.
And I think we have more than just a text. I think we go back and forth a lot. We're so together on this. So we're constantly texting. It's awesome.
And I think that's important because you want to make sure that the team that you have working with your communication are people that you work well with, because I know you and I have our own chat, Kevin, all of us, we're just like, it's a lot of talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh,
Yeah.
Moses, you're muted.
That's because of the ambulances passing. Oh no, I was saying it's like great to have a team of, other workers to go over the social media and all that stuff, put ideas together. That's great. But choosing the right social media platform is key to reaching your target audience. And there is a huge number of platforms to choose from. The three I recommend are, the first one is Facebook, because it has the largest amount of users. And not only that, it also has the largest amount of users within every age group. And then if you want to extend your exposure, so obviously you have a lot of potential for that. Instagram, I like it as a second option. It's because it's easy and fun to use, and it's been proven that images and videos do really well in grabbing attention. And the nice thing about it is that it's convenient in the way that you could connect Instagram with Facebook, and when you post to one platform, it automatically posts to the other. That way you're saving time, you're making the most out of your content. And lastly, LinkedIn, it's the best for career development and professional networking. So that's, in the profession, especially with opticianry, at this kind of time we're in, we could always communicate through that, as Patricia said. As if we already don't have enough platforms, we now have a whole slew of digital conferencing programs and platforms that we have to choose from. So Kevin, you become proficient with different digital conferencing platforms. What do you use for OAM?
Well, so right, like we don't have enough as an organization with limited people power to help us, but now comes Zoom and digital conferencing, right? So I think last year everybody we got blindsided with this pandemic that's happening, and we quickly realized that we're not going to be able to see our members in person. We had a spring education meeting that we on a dime had to flip from an in-person meeting to being virtual. And so we quickly learned that we needed a way to communicate with our members via some sort of virtual platform. So OAM has really adopted Zoom. That's another thing. We looked at a couple, we quickly realized Zoom was becoming the household name that people were becoming comfortable with. We wanted something that was going to be not only easy for us, but if we're going to be inviting members that have never been to a virtual education meeting, we wanted it to be easy for them. So Zoom seems to fit that category really well. And we also sort of figured out that Zoom can be more than just for our education meetings, right? This was a tool that we could use to actually communicate with our members. So when COVID hit, obviously it was stressful for everybody. People weren't working or were working a lot less. And so we developed a COVID impact committee within OAM. And so what we did was we set up multiple, how many was it, guys? Like 2 or 3? Yeah, like 3. Yeah. So we set up about 3 open forum discussions, and any optician in Massachusetts, really any optician, but we focused on Massachusetts, whether you're an OAM member or not, could come to these open forum discussions and just talk about what's happening, how is COVID affecting your business, how is COVID affecting you, ideas on how to work around all the restrictions and the new protocols, the cleaning protocols that were coming out. And between those 3 meetings, I think we reached upwards of about 200 opticians. And so it just became another method of communicating with our members, staying face-to-face with our members, and showing them that OAM as an organization was there to help them. So I encourage the audience to really get creative with how you communicate with your members. And so I don't think we have the poll that I had set up, But if you guys don't mind, maybe just put it right there in the chat. How do you guys communicate with your members? Do you use any video conferencing software like Zoom? There's Google Meets, Microsoft Teams. So just, if you don't mind, I'm sort of curious, just throw it there in the chat, what you guys use. If you use Zoom for anything, there's WebEx, GoToMeeting, all those different ones. Skype, yeah.
So
So
yeah.
Zoom,
Oh,
any meeting. Yeah, I figured Zoom was going to be a popular one. I just sort of encourage associations to create, ways to engage and interact with your associations. And people like to come and help other opticians. And if you give them the platform to do it, and people will come. Like I said, over 200 opticians came when we offered it to them. And then, of course, we used the video conferencing for our meetings, our committee meetings. How many times do I send you guys a text and I say, hey, can we chat Moses, right? How many times did we meet for this?
Right?
So
phone calls are great and texts are great, but first, it just being on Zoom makes everything a lot easier.
It does. And there's something about still maintaining that sort of face-to-face connection, even though it's virtual. You get to see people. Google Hangouts, Martin, I've used Google Hangouts in the past too. I think that works well. So it's just, it's become a necessary part of that communication plan for our state association. So.
So we use this in OAA. We also use Zoom. It's super convenient and it gets the job done. And I mean, we are using it today. So with all of last year's events, digital conferencing has boomed in popularity. With more people working, learning, and getting their entertainment online, it's important to stand out. Creating attention-grabbing content will make you and your message recognizable. So we have brand recognition, which is defined as the extent to which a consumer can identify a product or service just by viewing the logo, the hashtag, or the packaging. To simplify, be consistent on all platforms by using the same logos, color schemes, bios, etc. Jax, how does the OAM brand itself?
So I touched on this just a little bit earlier, but we took a look at our logo and we kind of took the key factors out of it, the colors, some of the shapes, and we've put that into all of our platforms. So if we post something on Instagram, unless we're sharing an OAA post, because we love to share your content, we try to make it look like it belongs to us. So it has our blue, our yellow, a little bit of green, and then the same thing for our YouTube videos. And just recently, Patricia's added it to our emails. So if someone sees a message from us, they know that's from us before they even read it. So
so the OAA has actually created a branding committee whose goal is to brand the American optician, and our catchphrase is "Opticians Helping America See." And it's an attempt at teaching regular, normal people about what opticians do, who we are, and why they need us. Patricia, how do you create content for OAM?
So for content, which is actually in the Q&A right now, there's a question from Francis Lynch on where do we get our content and some suggestions for creating content. So content kind of just happens over the course of the month. I'll see something interesting, I'll bounce it off my teammates, they'll add to it. I think just looking around Facebook and checking out your email blasts and subscribing to every optical magazine's newsletter, or not even their newsletter so much as their digital copy, is a great way to kind of go about finding content. Jack?
Yeah, so for creating content for social media, and I know Moses, you use this as well, I think Canva is the easiest go-to place to create content. So if there's anything that OAM wants to put out, we want it to look like it belongs to us. So we go in there and we create it in there. And when we put it on our social media, it matches and it goes along with our branding, like we said earlier. But I love Canva. You can do so much with it.
Jax, just maybe, I'm not super familiar with Canva, and just in case there's anybody in the audience, what is Canva?
So Canva is a platform where you can go in and you can create any kind of creative. So if you see something on social media that has a picture with some text and some coloring on it, you can also do it in Adobe, I think, as well. And you do it in, Patricia, what was the platform that you said you used?
PowerPoint.
PowerPoint. Thank you.
PowerPoint. Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
but I feel like Canva takes it and takes all the like really difficult parts out of it. You can even choose a template. You can choose any template and replace colors. You can replace anything about it. You can turn it into a video, a slideshow. It takes anything you post and it takes it from being really simple to look really fancy really easily.
And with the Canva, you're adding movement. So
Yes.
with PowerPoint, all I can really do is create just one physical little piece of clip art. But with Canva, you can bring it in. There's movement and visual interest. It's so much more fun. And I'm going to have to learn Canva now.
It's definitely fun. Like even with our YouTube videos, before I put up any of the interviews, there'll be like an intro and their picture will roll in with some fun stuff.
Jax, we have one more question from Cesar Rodriguez. How often do you post content? And Moses, you could answer that as well. How often are you guys posting content on social media?
So I'll start because I feel like Moses has like a really good system and I feel like you should totally end on this. We're still getting our groove. So we just recently started creating our social media presence. So what I feel like is the most important part is to not post a ton and then disappear for a few months. You want your members to feel like you're there and you care and you're consistent, along with not posting too much. So a few times a week. And then when events are going on, you can amp it up a little bit more. But Moses, you have a planner and a calendar.
I have planners on planners. Yeah, so I'm like an organization freak and I start my planning literally a year in advance. As soon as I get that 20 upcoming planner. So what I like to do is to post on social media as, often as, if there's an event such as today, you'll start seeing more and more. But at least I try to do it once a day on Facebook, Instagram, sometimes LinkedIn if it's professionally targeted, and Twitter. So the way I look at it is to plan everything is to think of it as a garden. So first you put in your trees, which are not movable. And this is it, like, for example, your trees can represent holidays and birthdays that are static. Secondly, you add your statuary sculptures, which can be moved. So that would be the Vision Expo East, West, Leadership, and if you have any vacations. And lastly, you're adding in your flowers, your garnish, and that's with things, dates, events that you can move easily. And by preparing and having a content calendar prepared in advance, it'll take away the guesswork when the day comes where you have to plan something. So today, I pre-planned weeks in advance all the content that I wanted to post for today. That way I could have consistent posts to put out. But yeah, content calendar, absolutely important, and color code everything makes it a lot easier.
And then I'm just curious. So, Kevin, what do you do for the OAM when planning out for our newsletters, our content? Do you have a strict schedule, or how do you go about?
So I've sort of taken a little bit of a step back in planning out the content. I think that what I realized is that a team of leaders and people dedicated to owning that part is really the best way to plan out the content. So if I could give any tips to any state associations with us right now is work with your board, find people that want to plan out the content, and find the people that want to own that part of the communication, because in the past, we sort of struggled with just putting it on the youngest person on the board, or it's a tedious task, and it involves dedication and a lot of work. And I think that my recommendation would be talk to your board, see what they're passionate about, see what people like to do, and give them free reign, you know, and empower their leadership is my suggestion. So
I can definitely agree with that, because for me, I don't feel like creating the Instagram posts or doing the Meet the Optician videos or creating any of the videos for our conferences is tedious or anything. I actually really enjoy doing it. So exactly, and maybe Patricia would go crazy if she had to do that, or whoever it is. And I know that you, Patricia, love creating the emails because you really put your thumbprint on it and you make it yours, which is
Yeah, like we met in the first communications committee, and then when we were deciding who was going to be in it, I remember 3 of you stepped up and were like, "Yeah, I want to do content. I want to do social media." And then I was like, there's nobody to put this together. I really enjoy doing these things. I think Jax remembers me saying,
I was just
I'm a
about to jump in.
right? I'm a doer. So basically, yeah, don't be afraid to step up in your organization. Everybody needs your help. Don't think that they don't. Anything you can contribute is not too small, basically.
Yeah.
I want to touch base. Hannah just sent in a message too. She said, I really want our organization to be much more active with our members, and I feel we're not getting the info out to our members. The hardest part is figuring out where to start. And then she went on to what she's using. But I think having a team is definitely, like you said, and just bringing that back to what you said, Kevin, is having a group of people that enjoy doing it.
Yeah, yeah, it's nonstop. As soon as you finish 1 month, yeah, we have a new text and a new email chain for the next month, right? So it's really nonstop. So
no, I agree completely, and I really appreciate how well you work together with OAM to create content and put all the communications out. So now I have a question for everybody. I don't know if the poll is available, but what is your favorite filter? All right, so your best filter. I'd say mine would be
like video filter. Like
video filter, yeah. Zoom or any of those filters. So I'd say mine personally is any filter that makes me look good.
If we have poll number 6, we can try to pull that up. I know we had some issues with polling today.
Yeah. So if not, just type it in chat.
I'm a fan of the I'm a cat. What is it? I'm a cat, not a lawyer. Or I'm a lawyer, not a cat.
Oh, that's mine. I'm a lawyer, not a cat. Oh no.
You're a tiger though.
I'm a tiger. She has the real one there.
And so, I'm kind of the old lady in the group, so this is my favorite filter.
Well, I'll show you what I got. I got here. So you see, starting a communication committee can be fun. Start by creating a strategy and designate roles. So we suggest you take what you learned here and apply it for your association, profession, or even your personal use. You can start by following the OAA and on Facebook and Instagram, follow the OAM as well. I'll go ahead and post those in chat in a sec. And thank you all for joining us and being here. Thanks to the panel for being here. And we hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Let me go ahead.
Can we take 1 second before people leave? Because I think we have like 2 minutes. I just saw, we can even answer these questions with our filters on. I'm not taking mine off. So somebody asked, can you explain the Meet the Optician video? Does anybody want to take that one?
I feel like I can jump in. We all can. I think, Patricia, you've been in a few of them. So basically, this was the thing where we had a list of questions that we asked opticians. And so now it's just on video. So I highlighted Dibby, or we highlighted Dibby last month. And we just ask her some questions about being an optician and what she loves about being an optician, and then some fun, lighthearted ones to connect. And then if we're reaching out to a local optical shop, same situation, but then we also ask about their business and their impact and everything.
Yeah, and anyone can go check them out. If you go to the OAM's YouTube channel, just search for Opticians Association of Massachusetts in YouTube, and you can actually see the way that we've kind of evolved the newsletter over the past year, not the newsletter, the Meet the Optician video over the past year, and see how we've, went from one thing into how we're now branding it. It's pretty cool.
And we're also always wanting ideas on who to highlight. So if there's an optician that you feel that's special or is doing something incredible, send them our way.
Please send them.
I think we're out of time, guys.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was great fun.
Thank you, everybody.
So awesome.
Thank you.